Hey, welcome to another question and answer live. Here we are in our beautiful studio, and a lot going on as usual. And I hope that you guys are doing well out there in upholstery world, land, or whatever you want to call it. And we do hear from, and I see people posting. I think Blair's really making a impact, Pat. I'm not sure if Patrick's been following his Facebook page, but I do. I get his Facebook, and he's got all kinds of great ideas, and I think he's run with a lot of it, and wish him luck. But I'm going to get right to the, we have really been doing a good job lately of posting YouTube videos. I want to talk a little bit about that. We just did one. You're going to see me strip a club chair and get it really quick to get it prepped up for upholstery. Didn't completely strip it, but what I was trying to show you is a quick way of doing it, because only for you advanced people, I guess. For you people who are just beginning, I still would like you to, you get used to the different tools that you need to strip with. I mean, we use an awl or a tack remover, a mallet, a pair of side cutters, scissors. But with that video, I'm showing you mainly it's just using a pair of side cutters and just really speeding up a little bit, because when you do it professionally, when you upholster professionally, a lot of times you don't even factor in stripping a piece of furniture. So keep that in mind. You need to really, I have a friend who asked me in a whole different field, completely different than upholstery. They were stuck on a particular project. This very smart guy was asking me, when I get stuck on a project in upholstery, how do you overcome that? What do you do? I said, well, any business has what we call breaking the code, and breaking the code in upholstery is good and fast. You keep that in mind, especially if you're going to make a living. For you hobbyists out there, this does not matter. So the answer that I gave this person was, if it's business related and the bottom line is money, you better be quick in finding a solution. Now, what does that mean? Are you going to be 100%? Oftentimes, you're not quite 100%, but in upholstery, when you have a problem, I don't want to say you're winging it, but sometimes these things present themselves where, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that you do the very best you can in a timely fashion. I mean, the last thing you want to do is call a customer and say, I can't do this. That's not acceptable. You should have known in the beginning. Now, I have jobs that I say, no, I'm not going to do this, or I can't do this. I'm not afraid to say that, but I want to explain why. Like, for instance, a job just came in for upholstered stools, and they were molded stools. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I can't do a factory mold the same way. I mean, they have actual molds that they pour into the foam, and then the adhesive, the fabric onto it. Some commercial upholsterers are really good at figuring this out, but I'm a residential upholsterer, so I don't have the equipment, let's say, to do something like that. So sometimes the best job is the job that you don't get, because you can get hung up. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. I know I'm babbling a little bit, but you guys know what I mean. So Janine, so that's the YouTube world. And the Facebook, how are we doing on subscribers on Facebook, Jimmy?
We had a few more members this week.
We did, didn't we?
Yes,
I think
at least I believe 4 or 5.
We had an uptick, didn't we? It was an uptick. And
yes.
Jimmy's one of the administrators. We thank him for staying on top of that. And the other thing, the YouTube, we've been really pushing them out, and analytics are up, which is great. I asked Patrick today, I said, Patrick, what do you got to do to make a little money on YouTube? I mean, what's happening here? I mean, we make a little bit. We are monetized on YouTube, but he was telling me you've got to do what, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos a day or something like that, Patrick? It's just
not that many a day, but
more than we do, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think we're there. I'm not doing it to make money. I want to make sure the content is good, right, Patrick?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, content is important, right?
It is.
So I would rather have a smaller YouTube channel or less videos with more content than having a lot of videos with less content. Does that make sense? We on the right path there? Patrick's busy doing something. So let's get right to the YouTube comments. Janine, as usual, thank you, Janine, for being one of our best viewers and subscribers and supporters. We really appreciate her. And she's got a comment on the club chair slipcover, week 4. How many classes was that altogether, Patrick, on the slipcover?
7.
So we got 7 classes up.
Well, week 5 went up. That was from last week. So we have 2 more weeks after today.
And I know people are going to like that.
And then, of course, after that is the big one that everyone's been waiting for.
Which is
the settee.
Jimmy's settee. Whoa. That's a killer one, right? That's like 25, 26 classes.
Yep.
Imagine seeing me for 25 straight weeks. Oh my God.
We have to do something about that. Shorten it down.
Yeah. Cut Jimmy right there. Okay.
No, I can't do that. There's too much gold in that class.
Yeah, you're a good editor, Patrick. You can put somebody else's face on Jimmy's face.
Hey, Jesus, Well, who are you going to get?
Maybe Santa Claus, but it'll be around wintertime, so.
Look at this, Mutt and Jeff. There you go.
Anyhow, so Janine says, interesting process. She's talking about Bernice and her club chair slipcover, which is available online. I'll try it next time when I do a slipcover. Looking forward to seeing it sewn together on the chair. Bernice is an absolute genius. You guys, you should, if you ever wanted to do a slipcover, you need to see these, because she is a genius when it comes to this stuff, and that's why we have her on the channel, right, Patrick, or on the online classes.
Yep.
Janine comments on the Upholstery Show Live, which was last. She says, another great question and answer. Thank you. And you're welcome, Janine. And by the way, being a live question and answer, you guys can jump in at any time.
Sylvia's making some good comments.
Oh, great.
She says she almost has the exact same chair as that, so she might want to, when this gets posted, check this class out.
Good.
So it's going to be cool. And she also says, the hardest slipcover I ever did was for a camelback sofa. The curve drove me crazy.
That would be. That would drive you crazy. Maybe Bernice can do. She's going to be doing other classes with us, right, Patrick? Mm-hmm. Maybe she can do. We can have her do a difficult class. This chair that she did was a very boxy looking chair that I think is easier to slipcover than camelback sofa. That's for sure. Barry Manilow. No, Barry Manilow. I thought it was
I think it is. I think it's I think did it say Manilow?
Do you think we have him as a fan out there, Patrick?
We have him. We're golden.
You can put any name you want on.
I can't even think of one song, Jimmy. Do you think of one song, Barry Manilow? Huh?
Mandy.
Mandy, you're a fine girl. What a fine girl. Is that?
All right. Thank you for that audition.
He can't even stand one note from my voice, that guy.
Actually, we can't stand any. Actually, my request would be, can you play over by the window? I'll help you out.
But we're on the 7th floor.
Exactly.
Barry says, how to use and choose trim is the video. He says, hi, a tip with removing hot glue is using a cloth dampened with thinner. Always test it on and cut first. Okay, that's a good tip. I think I was showing different trims to use on that video. And Fawn from Parts Unknown, the Upholstery Show Live, this series of videos very good. So we got a fan just on the live question and answer, Jimmy. So maybe
we are breaking all the rules here.
Maybe it's one of your fans. Maybe it's that big fan of yours that you have down there.
The one I have to pay off every week?
No, the four-legged one that was hitting his tail against
he gets paid off in biscuits.
You're never going to live that one down, Jimmy.
Well, as long as you're alive.
Now, we got some videos we really hit. We hit it out of the park, right, Patrick?
Mm-hmm. Like and this one,
the Tufting for Beginners. During my stint teaching people live, I devised a lot of different techniques to help people. And usually, I think it was self-preservation because, you got 12 people looking at you. They got their hammers, they got their tacks, they got their scissors. They're ready to go, and you're the only teacher in the class. They all have different projects at different stages, different abilities, beginners to advanced. And here you are, one person. And it was like, Jimmy, it was like a big workout, man. I was going up and down the class. 3 hours later, and I'm exhausted. But the techniques were to make it easy, but to take people in stages and to keep them engaged. That was the hardest thing, all those people engaged. But it really taught me how to really present the online classes with Jimmy in a way that I think, and we've been told, it's not me saying this, I wouldn't toot my own horn, I don't think, but I've been told, Janine actually says that, this is one of the best value on YouTube, I think she said, right, Patrick? The YouTube classes. Maybe not her exact words, but she's a big fan of them. And she knows that we just did this A to Z club chair where we demonstrated that, where I did the cutting, explaining, and then Jimmy did it, and then the question, Janine commented on that one last week, how different it is when I'm teaching somebody. So the online classes for you guys really want to move your game forward. I think it's a great value. So here we have SG.
She's in the chat right now too.
And she's in the chat at Tufting for Beginners. She says, "Wow, I didn't think of doing it this way before. Not that I've tried yet, but I'll definitely try this safety net tufting first. When you think logically, it's a no-brainer for sure. Thanks, Kevin. For your information is gold as always." I think Jimmy used that word today, or was it Patrick? What, you just used that for the settee, right? Because I think that every show has something. Sometimes it's funny. Remember Michelle's when that mouse popped out, Patrick?
Yeah,
the fake mouse. Boy, you would have thought it was a grizzly bear the way I reacted, huh? Well, if you guys want to see that and make fun of me, that's okay. Sometimes Patrick erases comments, though. He's funny.
I don't do that, really.
A couple of you, maybe the rude ones, right? Tufting for Beginners, Janine says, "Thanks, great tips." That was 4 days ago. Macy said, "Tufting for Beginners, same video. Very helpful. I see some just go straight to do the button." She's talking about other channels, and even I show that. "It is better this way first than putting in," she says, is it better this way first than putting in the button? It's definitely safer. I mean, it's easier taking out that one twine than it is put the button in and taking the button out, which sometimes you have to do. And I think it just gives you a little bit of that, like the safety net that SG said. It just gives you a little bit of breathing space, because a lot of people have a hard time with tufting. It's not necessarily, I can tell you something about tufting. Once you know the basics of it, which we show you in all the tufting ones that we've done, it's more of a patience, it's more of a process, it's more of just, it's more fluid than you might realize. Once you get the techniques down and keep to the basics, like you have to start in the middle button and work out, things like that. And all the tufting should be face down, things like that. With this technique, it just kind of eases you a little bit, that if you make a mistake, it can easily rectify it. So Randy says...
one sec. Sylvia has a question, and it's a good one.
Okay.
Do you find one fabric that cats love to scratch up the most or the least? Like, what can't they, what can they?
Well, I'm smiling because we did a video. It was kind of a tongue-in-cheek video we did about, I'm sitting on a wing chair. You guys should check it out. And I'm talking about cats and what fabrics work better with cats. And Cesar Romero, whatever his name is, the guy that does the dogs, Patrick.
Yeah.
I'm not. And it was a tongue-in-cheek, and somebody made a comment. They said, "This guy doesn't know anything about cats." And somebody else said, "Of course he doesn't. He's an upholsterer." Right, Patrick?
Yeah, it was fun.
I know I've said that.
What do you expect, dude? I mean,
I know I've said that joke before. But seriously, cats are all different personalities. I know cats that have gone through leather. Let's not kid ourselves, you guys. But I think here's the little thing I know about cats is that they love to sharpen their claws, and they get a feeling, a nice feeling. It's probably like a runner's high or something. For a cat, it's like they have to go through whatever they're doing. They have to go through it, and it's the pulling out that they like. That's the sensation, the nice sensation on their claws that they get. So it would stand to reason, logic, I'm just trying to logically figure this out, that a high double rub count is the best way to go. So if you've got a fabric, some fabrics have a 500,000 double rub count. Can you believe that? 500,000. I have a couple to shop. I would think that a cat, even with those razor claws, might have a hard time going through that. Although I just told you that I've seen cats go after leather quite well also. And you would think that a leather would be a really, really, I don't even know if they even did double rub on a leather. That's interesting. If anybody knows that. Has there ever been a double rub test done on leather? I'd like to know what it is. But it just floored me when I saw that, when I saw damage done by a cat on leather. It was more like scratching on the surface. I'm not sure if the cat actually went through the leather. But that was a lot of damage. It ruined the piece. But cats are our best friend, right, Patrick?
Oh, yeah.
An upholsterer's best friends.
Yes, what isn't it for every chair or sofa we give away 2 cats?
You had that idea to give a kitty cat away for every
Yes,
piece.
fully clawed.
Jimmy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we on the air?
You're hearing from our studio audience back there, our vast studio audience. Randy says on that video, Tufting for Beginners, great videos. I like your technique of just putting the tufts and pleats with the single twine. I need to try this. Thanks. Well, Randy is a professional upholsterer, so I consider that a great compliment. Thank you, Randy. Frida.
Here's the one you thought was fun.
On the upholstery show, listen up, Jimmy. She said, just enrolled in the mahogany chair class with Jimmy. The class is great in large letters and exclamation point. Although it was funny when my 22-year-old son walked by while I was watching it and stated, I don't know what it is with you, Mom. You are way too engrossed in watching 2 old guys pulling nails out of a chair. I was having a great old time. Jimmy, are you all right back there? I think Jimmy passed away.
Passed out at least.
It was that singing that put me to sleep.
But anyhow, Jimmy, you got a compliment, a sideways compliment there.
Well, I'm
About
glad
pull tags.
I'm being watched, and it's fun. I mean, it's always getting into the groove with a project and enlightening the lesson a lot.
Yeah. And now, before I move on to the other one, is there any question, comments, anything, Patrick, that we should catch up on?
Nope, I'll caught up.
Okay, good. Dee Washington, she commented on how to upholster the 1860s chair, Part 6, double piping. You know, I love this video, and I think what I like about it is the history that we did behind it. If I had time, I wish I could have time to do every history on every piece that I do. But I think that's part of it. But I think the thumbnail on this one is probably the most reason why people comment on it, Patrick. I love the thumbnail that you did.
I never expected that when I made that.
I know, but it's great. Dee says, beautiful. Randy, thank you, Randy, for the comments. Fix the pop button for free. He says, when you talk about a German needle, are you referring to the C.S. Osborne tufting needle? Probably. The 417 is a device, that places a small metal clasp with a cord attached behind all the webbing. They sound like the same thing, just different names in different areas, I assume. Randy, you're right on, spot on. It does the same thing. It fixes a button as long as you know how to do that slip knot, which we have videos of that up there too. So the German needle is what it was called when I was learning over 40 years ago. I hate to think about it. That's what they called it. I'm not sure if it originated there or if that was just their name for it. Them being my mentors at the time. And some of them were from Germany. Fixing a pop button for free. That was that shows, that video shows how to do that using home tools. So we devised a way of doing that just using home tools, because some of this stuff gets expensive and people don't want to, for one fix. We understand that we get a lot of people who watch these YouTube, right, Patrick, who are just on there for one time to see how to do something, and then you never see them again, right?
I know.
They don't subscribe.
But it's fine. They stop by and they look at it. And
It's a view. It goes in as a view, right?
Yeah, maybe that's all they needed.
And views are, counted. So that's fine. But we would like to see, if somebody's watching this now and you haven't subscribed, please, is there a button they push, Patrick? Button?
No, I'm not that fancy.
You're not that fancy? You should. That would make it easy for people to subscribe.
The buttons on the top, there's buttons on their screens. If they're not subscribed, they'll see it on your channel.
Okay. Now we move on to the Facebook forum, unless we have any other business left on YouTube, Patrick.
No.
Except that I would mention, sometimes I watch YouTube myself, and I like to watch these, what would we call them, basketball kids. There's this one guy, it's called The Professor. Have you ever seen him, Patrick?
No, I never talking about.
Oh, he's fantastic. But what he is he's a fabulous dribbler. I mean, the guy dribbles around, and he goes up against 6'9", 7-footers, and he beats them by his dribbling and his quickness and his moves. You know, he's really good. But people like that, they're great on YouTube, Patrick. They get millions of views, right? On one
Yeah,
video.
So what are you saying, you're gonna
Incredible.
start dribbling?
I want Jimmy to start dribbling on TV.
Imagine if he was like better than that guy.
I don't know why I come in here every week and hear what this man.
You're the one that said it, man.
I,
Okay, well, let's go to Facebook. And Jimmy gets a lot of credit for the Facebook because I think he's so good at telling people that they can join. I don't think he's ever denied anybody. I don't know what his screening process is, but I don't think he's ever denied anybody. Have you, Jimmy?
no, I don't, I gave up on the Corey checks and, you know,
Patrick, didn't you kick somebody off the farm once?
Well, somebody was trying to advertise something.
Oh, that's right. You don't
That
advertise.
wasn't even related to the upholstery,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, yeah, when it's not related.
Well, I did that too, I think.
Oh, kick him off, Patrick. Oh, you did. You
Jimmy, you're
kicked
gone.
You kicked somebody off. He'd be the first administrator ever let go on Facebook. Right, Patrick? I'm just kidding, Jimmy. Sorry.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Jimmy up here, you guys. It's a very exciting online class that we did today on this shell bag. Jimmy's finally got fabric put on, and he's going to talk a little bit about the challenges of how the cutting and what we did today. So we'll have him up here when we take care of this, after we take care of the business here. Brad, who's on the forum, and you guys, if you're watching and you don't know about the forum, I had somebody come in, Patrick, to shop, who bought some supplies, who didn't even know that we had a forum, a Facebook forum. I think a lot of people don't. A lot of people on Facebook don't know that you have other venues, right?
No,
So-
I mean, especially people coming into the shop, they don't realize it.
So you can't advertise on YouTube, can you, that way? Or can you? That you have, like...
Well, we could, but I wouldn't. Just stick to the knowledgeable stuff, you know.
Right.
It's more like an advertisement. I mean, I do that for the classes, but that's about it.
So I'm going to talk about Brad. You got that up
Yep.
there? Oh, I can't believe this furniture that he has here. These pictures of Impala set I found in a used furniture store. We finished the frames. It looks like mahogany. An upholsterer I know did the rocker and chair and guided me through the settee. Go to show there is great furniture out there that just needs a lot of love. I've done furniture like this. These are really heavy furniture too. They're really well made. They're claw and ball feet, and I'm pretty sure it's mahogany. And what a beautiful graining on that. You see that, Patrick?
That's amazing.
And you know, any wood person would tell you that the hardest thing for them to do would be a rocker. Rocking chairs are really hard to do because they have to be balanced. But that chair looks perfectly balanced and perfectly nice. I mean, what a great job. So we go on to Mona. Any questions, Patrick? Comments?
Gabrielle's comment, he said, I could not find double rub for leather. Leather offers maximum durability and can last 15 to 20 years compared to about 5 years for fabric. Leather ages well, maintains its shape, and won't absorb animal odors.
There you go.
Pets can be a concern when using leather furniture as their claws and teeth damage the leather.
Right.
Some interesting leather facts there.
Yeah, thank you
Except
for that
for
research.
Lately, that's not been true.
Well,
Oh, right.
we've been seeing some really, hey, you guys, whatever it means to you professional upholsterers out there, or you do DIY, I have stopped using leathers and faux leathers and vinyls at the shop. That's the first time in over 40 years I've had to do something like that, because the quality is just not there. I've just had enough of seeing something that lasts 2 years and starts to peel or crack. And I've just had enough of that. And I've made another decision at the shop. This was huge. I've never done this. And stopped doing customer's own material. I've had it with that too. It's nobody's fault. It's not the customer's fault. It's just, They don't know fibers. They don't know what to look at. They bring me fabrics that are almost impossible to use. So I've said no. I can't do that anymore. That was a huge thing for me to do. And the other thing I've stopped doing are repair jobs because I am busy. Thank God that I'm busy every day. I thank God for the work. But some things I don't have time for, and it's getting a little, it's tough to go out to people's houses now and do work in the house. So we've stopped doing repairs, at least for now. So we've made some major changes at the shop, at the custom work. So my focus is on, my own fabric, chairs, sofas, ottomans, and the like, residential, not commercial. And that's it. And so far that's sustained us pretty well. But those were hard decisions to make because in the past I've done everything. I've done leather, I've done vinyl, I've done faux leathers, I've done repairs, all types of repairs. I've done work in the house. I've taken furniture apart to get it downstairs that usually can't, that you can't get it, or it was lifted up with a crane, things like that. So things have changed a little bit for me, but I just thought I'd let you know that. Mona, she asked a question. Do you have that up there, Patrick? Mm-hmm. A client brought 2 of these tight seats. One had 3 layers on it, 2 of which were identical silk layers, but each layer was attached separately. I don't understand why. I think it was a mistake. That's why, Mona. I think they put the first on. Maybe they saw a stain or something, and then they had to do another one. Also, the foam is covered with only a thick type fabric, ? My thought is to wrap with a layer of Dacron, then muslin, and finish with her silk fabric. The silk she supplied is similar to feel as a taffeta, which is a pretty raw silk. I have little experience with silk. Be careful not to get any wet or even a sweat mark on it because you'll never get it out. That's one thing about silk, at least one thing about silk that you have to be careful about. My questions are, and she's got 4 of them, so this is going to take a while. And I see something right away that I want to mention. She doesn't say how these fit in, but it looks to me like there's a little, if you look at the front edge of this slip seat, is Mona on right now, Patrick?
I'm not sure.
Could you check to see if
Not
she's
that
there?
I know of. She hasn't commented.
It looks like this fits inside a frame, which is very important to know. It fits inside a frame. And I'm not sure what I'm looking at here, if this is a muslin cover, but I have a couple of things to say about all this. Let me just get through all her questions first. So the first question is, am I right with Dacron muslin, then fabric? I'll get to that. 2, does the silk need any prep before applying to the seat? I'll get to that. Iron the silk with the dry iron before attaching? No way, don't do that. What about water spots? And I think I just answered that. She says, please help. Big letters, as you guys can see. Well, there's a lot to this. First of all, let's get to the muslin. You guys, muslin we talked a little bit about slipcover people in my online class today, which are lovely people. We have Bernice, who's our lovely slipcover person. When people who are slipcovers make the transition to upholstery, they brought along their techniques. One of them is that they use a lot of muslin underneath. They'll upholster a piece in muslin and then slipcover it, which is a good idea, I guess. And then they do a lot of lining with they do drapes also. They use muslin on the drapes and also on the slip covering. So a lot, because this is where the big, huge gap is in the upholstery world. And that's why the online classes, I think, are wonderful, because I think I fill these gaps in. The gaps, this is one big gap, where people who are coming over from another trade, and they did a great job, they're great sewers, seamstresses and everything, they just need to be tweaked a little bit. So if you're a slipcover person, you want to do upholstery, check out the online classes, seriously, because your skill level just needs to be tweaked to understand stretching, for instance. And Jimmy's going to come up and talk about that issue when he comes up. But a lot of times, slipcover people, they're good at the surface stuff, of course, because they're not pulling the fabric tight. It's just laying on there. So they don't, when they're upholstering and they don't know, or they've never been taught, so in a traditional sense, they don't know how to stretch the fabric, and that's a huge gap right there. But so muslin is overrated. I guess that's the bottom line, Mona. It took me all that to get to that. Muslin is overrated. You don't really even need to use muslin. Now, you might want to, you could reason on this one because of the silk, because it's a lightweight fabric. And if you're a beginner or even a journeyman, it would be easy to go over the silk. I mean, the muslin. But if you're seasoned, you could put your foam on, put not cotton. You do not want to use cotton on silk. Why not? Because even a refined silk comes in 3 grades: AAA, AA, and A. And we use A. What that means is that A is the more refined cotton, where they pick out most of the seeds and plant, but there's still some, and they look like little black dots, the seeds. And those will either, you'll see those, you'll feel them, or you'll see the ridges, or you'll actually, depending on what color the silk is, you might even be able to see it. So do not use, so Mona is right about the Dacron. Dacron is the right material to use underneath the silk. But let me just run through her questions one at a time. I think I've answered a lot of them there, but am I right with Dacron? Yes, you are. Muslin, then fabric. You don't need to use the muslin if you've got a skill level that you think you can get away with not doing that. Muslin, as I said, is a good it's a good material to use if you're a beginner or even a little moderate person. The other factor in deciding on what to use is if it's a drop-in seat, be careful not to take your Dacron. If it's a drop-in seat, don't take your Dacron and staple it on the bottom. Try to staple it above where it sits into the seat, okay? Because it's possible that you could put Dacron, like if you're using a thick Dacron, use a thin Dacron, okay? Don't use the thick stuff. It comes this thick. That will never work for this. Use a thin layer, and try not to bring it around the edge. So that's a good tip there. Does the silk need any prep? No, no prep on the silk. Some people line silk. I don't think you have to do that on slip seats. The reason they line silk or very thin silk, perhaps, is if you're sewing a cushion. Then you need to send it out and have that done, a liner done. You can't do that yourself. Iron the silk with the dry iron. I have no idea why you would want to do that. I think that would be dangerous. I wouldn't do that. And what about water spots? What about it? Once a water spot gets in silk, you cannot remove it, period. And I don't think, maybe some silks are treated. I don't know, maybe somebody can answer that. I don't get into a lot of silks because they do not make up well. And the thing about silks is, what you're going to remember is silks, when you're talking fibers, fabrics, you're talking about some of the in the infancy of upholstering. Your choices were silk, horsehair, pretty much that was it, I think. I think that was it. That was it in the really beginnings. And horsehair was the first. So as we go along, we get introduced to, fibers, the fabrics that really work much better than, there are some imitation silks that fool everybody that really work better than actual silk. So for whatever that's worth. I think that, how long have we gone here, Patrick? I'm just curious.
About 35 minutes.
Okay, I wanted to get, before Jimmy comes up, I just wanted to read, this is becoming, we're getting some feedback, some positive feedback on some of the inquiries we get about upholstering, specifically how much things cost and how many yards of fabric and situations we get into. I did want to mention, we're getting a love seat in, Patrick. I heard back from a customer that it's H.R. Haldeman. Rumor has it that it was H.R. Haldeman's love seat. I don't know if you...
here we go. Another one for the wall.
But that would be an interesting love seat to do. That's coming in. We're going to be working on the San Francisco Survivor sofa pretty soon. That's the earthquake survivor. And before you come up, Jimmy, we're live on YouTube. That's one of my, okay. Let's get to some of the, I'm just reading through my emails, and that was the first one that came up, live on YouTube, right, Patrick?
Yeah, it shouldn't be an email. I go to your email.
I get that, yeah. Okay, so we got, so this is an example of what some of the inquiries I've been getting, and that you guys should see this. I mean, this is crazy. Do you get a good view of that, Patrick? Do you see
A
that?
little bit closer. Let's glare. Go right up to the lens. There we go.
By the way, you should clean your lens off. It's a little dirty over there. It's a little dusty.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Maintenance, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So look at that. I'm getting calls. I get like 2 or 3 of these calls a week. People, I feel bad for the consumer. They're calling me. They have a chair like this.
So,
What's that? Oh. They have a chair like this. This is not that old. Like, this is like a year or 2 old, and the faux leather's peeling off. You guys, do not buy faux leather furniture. Do not buy it. I mean, it does not last. It looks great when you buy it, but we're seeing it fail after a very short time. So there's nothing I can do with this. There's nothing. Usually people, because they've already spent the money on the piece, they don't want to get it upholstered. They're asking me if I can repair this. I can't do anything with this. So that was one inquiry I got. And then I got another one, here. If you look at this, you guys, this is the top of an arm and the welting along an arm. What you're looking at there is a very poor fabric. You're probably talking about a double rub. Manufacturers have a double rub of about 2,500 or 2,000, which is nothing. I mean, nothing. They want this to happen here's the problem. They want this to happen after about 6 to 8 years of normal seating, which isn't that much when you think about it. Problem with the pandemic, you guys, you're going through 1 year. In 1 year, you went through 20 years of seating, and this is what happens. And people are getting caught. This is a really bad. You can almost see, if you look careful enough, you can almost count the fibers where that hole is. Do you see the hole? And then people ask me, can I do anything with this? I can't do anything with that. I'm sorry. I mean, in the old days when I first started, and I had more people around me working, or I was actually a customer service person in one of the shops I had. I might say to somebody, oh yeah, for customer service, we can maybe take the outside back off and make a set of arm caps for you, and this costs this much. I simply don't have the time to do that anymore. And I think it might be a little disingenuous in some ways. I don't know. We just can't do it, don't have the time. So let's go to another one. Maybe some happier quotes.
happy.
Well, more, and then we can have a preview of H.R. Haldeman's love seat.
You have a picture of it?
Yeah, we have a picture of it. H.R. Haldeman, rumor has it. So we're looking forward to seeing that one in the shop. We'll ask the customer if we can do a little segment on that. We'll try not to be too political, right, Jimmy?
Oh yeah, when are we ever political?
Let's just keep
We in the upholstery world are true artists. We're not.
Yeah, I think upholsterers are kind of like the peacemakers. I think of them as peacemakers, right, Jimmy?
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
And we have love seats, right? We always recover, right?
That's, yeah. Isn't that on the last issue of Upholstery Monthly?
And we provide fainting sofas, so if you're feeling faint, you can go lie on a sofa or fall on a sofa, fainting sofa, right, Jimmy?
After watching the news all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, and again, people ask all the time, can I repair a seam that's come apart?
Down a little.
That has come apart on a cushion that's a faux leather or leather cushion. The problem with that, no, it can't. I mean, because once you put a hole in leather or faux leather, it's a hole. It's not, when you put a needle through fabric, it separates the fibers and you don't have a hole. But you have a hole, you can't do anything with this. You're gone. You got to start all new. You got to get all new. So that's that.
So I say something that Randy's checking in.
Well, hi, Randy. Thank you for the comments. That we already read them, and I appreciate that. Your insight's important, I think, as being a professional upholsterer.
No fabric back orders on his end.
No fabric back orders?
No.
Good.
So I wonder which companies he works with.
That's good. That's good.
But Carson says, I need some help. I have a tufted wing chair, and the customer wants to remove the tufting. The back is curved all around. What video would be best for them to check it out?
I don't have I've done that before. I don't have a video. I know I don't have a video on transforming. I don't like doing it, but there are two ways to do it. So he didn't say, did he say how old this was? It was an antique? I can almost,
No, it wasn't.
I can almost guarantee it's probably a horsehair. It sounds like it's probably an antique. So what I like to tell people to do is let's try to do it without destroying the tufting. Because I've actually taken pieces apart that people have been careful about. They've gone over and made it into a tight back. It's called a tight back and not a tufted back. They've actually preserved the tufting. So what I would like to see, instead of him tearing out the tufting, and I would like to see him, if he can, take maybe fill in the holes with cotton, right? Has to be cotton, can't be Dacron. Try to get the cotton even to the surface, and then maybe take a half of an inch. I don't think he should use an inch, half-inch layer of foam, really all the way around. And Jimmy, did we use foam on that settee on the back? Do you remember?
Yes.
Okay, he's got to go see that. He's got to buy, and I'm not pushing this, but
How was that? That was about an inch?
that was an inch foam. This is a little different with this guy's. What's his name, Patrick? Carlson. So I would try to preserve the tufting by filling in the holes, taking a half of an inch of foam, and Jimmy's chair. We showed this. It's not the same technique. We're starting from nothing, and it's a small settee, and you're blinking lights on, Patrick.
Oh, okay.
And try to preserve that's what I'm saying. And you're gonna have to charge less, and I think that's probably the motivation for the customer. They don't want to get charged to hand tuft it. So I hope that was helpful to you. Any other questions or comments, Patrick?
No.
Before we have the star
I
of the
did fill the
day.
holes with cotton, they say.
What?
I did fill the holes with cotton.
But he needs to smooth that out with a half inch of foam, and then over that probably he needs either Dacron or cotton over that. Okay. And Jimmy has fast becoming one of the stars of the Broadway Upholstery online classes. We've got a few people. There's myself, there's Bernice, there's Michelle, and there's Jimmy. Jimmy seems to be really.
Why is he last in the list?
Well, as they say, and I'll try to remind your father, they're saving the best for last. There you go.
Well, what I was gonna say is that
Quiet, Patrick.
his star is rising, and he's moving up in the ranks because he's getting noticed. I think it could maybe have something to do with his. He is
You're
on
welcome, Carson.
in the movies. The town.
5-second movie.
So now, with all that said, Jimmy, why don't you come on up and talk to us, please, about what you're doing?
In 1 second. They're back, guys.
Well, thank you very much, Jimmy. We'll see you next week. No, I'm just kidding.
You can't wait to get a ribbon to me. Yeah, there you go.
Jimmy, you've got a lot to talk about with this today.
Well, you know what? I think every time we come up here, especially if you're going to be showing the chair, we had the foam on, of course, and then we put on a inch of cotton, and then we put the seat fabric on, and back and forth we went with regard to stretching it out, and then we ended up with cutting around some of the shape anyway of the seat itself. We have to do that side next week.
So we were talking a little bit before this about stretching, and so you went through a process stretching this before you did any cutting.
Yes.
And if you notice, you did the back cuts first before you did the front cuts.
Yes.
Because there's a method to that too.
Tell them why you have to do that way.
The thing is that all fabric has to be stretched. Some fabrics stretch more than others. Sure, that's another thing. So you have to know the proper stretch.
Okay.
And there is a way of over-tighten. You can over-tighten this too. So what we did on this, I'll just take people through the process of how we did this.
Okay.
Just the stretching, not the padding or anything else.
Right, yeah, no, this is the...
So Jimmy had a fabric that needed to be centered, so the very first thing he did was he centered up his front and his back with a pencil mark.
Right.
Then he notched his fabric. And then what I had him do is I had him lay his fabric down. I showed him a technique of laying the fabric over because this cotton is underneath.
Yes.
So you don't want to take it back out because you'll take the cotton with you. So there was a technique. So Jimmy did a good job of just laying it in there and then bringing it over to the front. What he did was he lined this up and he pin tacked. What would you do? 3 tacks at the beginning?
3 tracks
I
in the
only
middle
did
to
taking it slow, right?
Yes.
So you got the middle one in, and then you put one on each side.
Right.
And then you stretched it back just a little bit. Or I asked you, I didn't get into stretching at that point. I just asked you to bring it through the back
Right.
and get 1 tack on the back,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And then what I did was I said, okay, Jimmy, now I want you to extend the tacks a little bit on the front. I don't think I mentioned pin tacking even at that point.
No. No.
I mean,
because
stretching. I didn't mention stretching. And then what I asked you to do is get a couple of more tacks on the back. I think 2 more tacks, 1 on each side.
Yeah.
Then I started getting into the stretching. So what we had Jimmy do is we had him remove. Why don't you bring that chair up to show people? He still has this pin tack, you guys. See? Pin tacking is such a great, useful tool. For you beginners out there, it's essential when you're stretching fabric. You just can't staple the fabric or tag the fabric on.
Well,
It's
God
a
forbid,
process.
finding, like you said, there's, let me bring this up. You had not just the pattern, but you have lines here.
Right.
So if I don't have these lines straight back and they're a little a little off, you're gonna see it. You're gonna notice it.
That's right.
And then you're gonna end up like, oh, again, now we gotta take the staples all out. Now we have to reset. Now we have to go back, and now we've wasted probably a half hour worth of time.
So then I had Jimmy undo 1/2 side. He kept the 3 middle tacks in. I had him do 1/2 side and do a 2-way stretch to this point. And then he tacked that, and then he finished tacking in between. And do you remember why I had you grasp the fabric with your 4 fingers and your palm and your thumb rather than do this? Do you remember that?
Oh well, that's so you wouldn't have the
Pull
stretching.
lines.
Yeah.
Pull lines.
Yeah. Which I think right here. Now, question. It's a little bit off.
You can adjust it. That's another good to see.
Is that?
He's only got a pin tack, so you can make small adjustments like that.
Okay.
You can still do that. So
Now-
then you did the other side, you stretched it. So
Yes.
bring it up and show people the next step. So at that point, Jimmy was ready to make his back cuts.
Yes.
So he had a post. You have the 2 posts back there.
Yes.
That the edge or the point of the post is facing in to the chair.
Yes.
So that required how many cuts? Just
2.
one.
Or just one. That's right. I was
Right?
thinking of this one.
Because you're thinking of that one because that one's flat.
Right.
So anytime you have a flat post, if you had a flat post to the back, it would be one of those Y cuts that we do.
But it was the technique that you pushed it right into the post itself.
Yeah, we didn't overdo the back tacks and we didn't do any tacking on the sides so that Jimmy could fold the fabric back
Right.
and get as good of a 90-degree angle as possible.
Okay, that's the key.
Well, but don't get used to that because in upholstery, it's hardly ever the case
Okay.
that you could get a nice 90-degree angle and then take a 45-degree angle cut and you're done. That doesn't
Right.
hardly ever happen.
Right.
Does
But I mean,
almost
that's-
happened with this.
But with the technique you use with pushing it in, and
Right.
again, you have the railing and back facing out.
Right.
So you have basically you're using the corner of the railing as the is what you're cutting to.
What was that other tip I gave you? Do you remember the other tip when I was focused out here?
Oh, so that
To
if
show
basically
people that bring those 2 pieces out and meet in space. There you go. See that, you guys? That's usually what you're looking for. Not all the time, but in this case, you're looking for an even amount of fabric on both sides out here. That's what you're looking for. Not all the time, though. I got a Martha Washington chair cut. It's nothing like this. It's a whole different.
well,
story.
again, you have a different
Talk
frame.
Talk about the front cut now.
The front cut was even more interesting because Kevin had cut it not once but twice and had to shape it around this railing here, and basically then we brought it down, and this is where we are right now.
We're not stapled it yet, but
No,
try
because
to describe to people what we did with the regulator.
Oh,
So
let's
we
see
left this part was open,
Yes.
right? Your pin tacking was this way. Intentionally, we did not tack all the way over there.
Right.
And then how did we get that so tight?
Well, you ended up with the fabric hanging. You pierced it, brought it down, and stretched it out, and then brought this down inside.
Intact.
Yeah.
Genius, right? Because you cannot.
I didn't know you could ever do
Your
something
fingers
like that.
are not pointy enough to do that. Next to that,
Well, you could-
next to that leg, you could struggle with that for 20 minutes before you could do the same thing with the regular. You have to be careful now, because remember when I did that, you heard a little ripping.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
But I was well in the back, so it was okay. But you could, let's say you had a velvet.
Oh.
You do that on velvet, because
No,
if you
because
do that
on a-
on velvet, you might rip it right up. So you have to
Yeah.
be careful of the fabrics that you use that technique on.
Well, even if you try to do this by your hands, it would. It would
People
take.
might be wondering too, why is that stripe just a little crooked? It's crooked because, why? Because you have a crown seat.
Okay.
So that's a good lesson. If you don't want a crooked stripe at the end of your pleats, maybe you don't want to use a stripe on something like this. But that's perfectly acceptable as long as the other one comes out the exact same look.
Time will tell.
So
in
we will see.
In our
That's gonna
next
be your job.
episode of Household Tips
You
by
didn't think it could be so much fun, right?
Oh, I always say, every time I come in here, it's always going to be so much fun.
We got your challenge. Now, is there any more comments before we say goodbye here, Patrick?
No, we're all caught up.
Okay.
We're doing good.
Well, as usual, your feedback is really essential. I mean, people like Janine who comment even on the shows, it's really important for us because, I mean, if nobody was commenting or nobody was watching the live shows,
I'd be home now.
You would be home. Your fan would probably be at the dog pound, and
Yeah, I'd have to get, bail them out with biscuits.
I think I'd still be doing it regardless. It's much fun.
I don't know. You don't have to have film in the camera. See, that's how much I know. Film in the camera.
Yeah, I
If that
know.
was the case, we wouldn't be doing any of it. But the money, so expensive.
Yeah, so much for that expensive audiovisual man that you have here.
You buy it once now and you're good.
Jimmy, I'm gonna, as usual, sometimes I like to have you close out.
Oh,
so
okay.
feel free to say anything you want. No, not anything you want.
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming this week, watching us all. I don't know how many people, usually we were looking for the big numbers this week, so I know Kevin's always asking about the numbers, how many people are watching, but we are glad that you do want to see us every week and give us a lesson or two and what the project is going to be, and hopefully a tip or two about upholstery itself. So everyone have a good week and have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you. Thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you do that well.
Yeah.
It does.
Does it get